theyeshiva.net.
Okay, good morning, welcome everybody. We are up to Torah. We're learning the Mayim Rabim Parshas Toldos, page 35, Daf Yud Ches, column 2. We're holding at the paragraph Vizel Mayim Rabim a brief summation of what we learned, and to bring out some of the main points that were explored, is that the relationship between Yitzchak and Rivka represents not just two people, obviously it's two people, but it also represents a general and profound theme that pervades history. And in order to understand this, you have to explain what Yitzchak is and what Rivka is, simply in the names. Yitzchak means laughter. Kol ha-shemeya tzachakli. Rivka means when animals appear together. It's called in Mishnah and in Gemara, the Lashon is Rivka Reish Veis Kufhei, which would seem like a strange concept to use as a name for a person when animals appeared together. Just like Yitzchak would also seem like a strange concept to associate with a child and call him laughter, or he will laugh, or just a comedy, or something that's funny. But both of these names represent a profound idea. And the primary idea that was conveyed was that laughter always comes from hischachos. In the terminology of the Balatanya, mehischachos nimshach hatzchoik v'atainuk, it's from newness that laughter and tainuk, unique pleasure, is generated. Or to put it differently, as we explained, laughter always comes from the unexpected, from that which is novel, from true creativity, from that which is not predictable. You don't, so to speak, see it coming. Like in the joke, the unexpected punchline that nobody was expecting or waiting for. If they were waiting for it or they knew it already, then it's not going to tickle the chords of humor in the human psyche. What makes people laugh is an interesting study, what happens in the brain to make people laugh. But the way he defines it here is that in order for the chords of humor to be tickled, to be triggered, to be aroused, which is in Nister, in Kabbalah and Chassidus, it's called koyach ha-tainug, a certain component of tainug, of pleasure, which in everything there's pleasure, and in eating there's pleasure, and singing there's pleasure, and thinking there's pleasure, reading there's pleasure. But over there the pleasure is, the Mittler Rebbe has a Mayim, we explains this Mayim, the son of the Balatanyas, he says in everything there's pleasure. But over there it's tainug hamurkav, meaning it's pleasure that's mixed in with other things. I'm learning and it's kashmak. There's also pleasure in it. Art is pleasurable. I mean, so many things in the world. You look at something, you hear beautiful music, it's pleasurable. It triggers tainug. The idea of humor is he calls it tainug ha'atzmi. It's tainug not mixed in with anything else. It's laughter for the laughter in itself, in and of itself. And that's a unique chord in the human psyche, that ability just to experience pleasure on its own sake. So the ultimate of it is oz yimale schaik pinu u'lashaynenu rina, when the entire drama of history unfolds and its purpose is revealed. Until then, the focus is the avodah. Before the vihine toiv ma'od, at the end of the avodah, the focus is the avodah itself. But nonetheless, there is the tainug that fuels it, the tzchak that fuels it, even though its ultimate realization will be in the future. And what is the most unexpected, and really the only unexpected thing in the world, is, as he said, human idealism, or bittul hayesh, or the person in the world, which seemingly is completely detached from any wholesome divine core, and nonetheless the person surprises himself or herself every single day and realigns the yesh, the separateness, with the ayin, with the source of everything, and does not and refuses to give in to the predictable, which the predictable is that the person is selfish, narcissistic, beastly, despondent and disconnected from themselves and the world and Hashem. That's the ultimate tzchaik, which can only come from tzchaik asali elikim, can only come from the concealment elikim, which conceals Yudke Vavke, Shemesh Amagan Hashem Elikim, and therefore gives rise to a whole reality where the person could easily feel alienated and severed in whatever manifestation that may take. It could take on so many different forms in every person's life, individually and collectively. But the common denominator is that when a person serves and becomes an Oived Elikim, Oived, you work through, like Ma'abed, you work through the Hester. This you don't get dispelled, you don't get affected from darkness in any way. You know that deeper there is something waiting, and what's waiting is the ability to transform it, the ability to see through it, the ability to excavate, so to speak, the Cheshvan, and come to the Oir of their wholesomeness, of their divinity, of their Kedusha, of their godliness. Person naturally feels like the Gemara says in three things with Daimon LeBehema, and some even like to argue that we are behemoths, essentially, entirely evolved from behemoths. All that is just a manifestation of one truth, and that is you could look at yourself your whole life and just see yourself as that, and everything else is just playing out that reality. And yet, avoida over the lakim is the person realizes that there's so much more and there's so much deeper, and therefore transforms. Who was the paradigm of transformation? The paradigm of transformation, that's Rivka. And that's where Yitzchak and Rivka's connection come in, both Bagashmi is the relationship between them, and also spiritually, what Yitzchak and Rivka represent. And this is not only true spiritually, it's also true very practically. Because the interesting thing is, and this I guess has to be emphasized, Yitzchak and Rivka were very opposite people in nature. You see throughout the Chumash, even the same children, Yitzchak had a liking to Esav, Rivka had a liking to Yaakov. That's a serious disagreement. When it comes to the brachas and Parshas Toldos, this disagreement is not a small disagreement, it changes history. Yitzchak wants to give the blessings to Esav, and Rivka not only disagrees, but concocts a whole strategy how to maneuver the situation and make sure that Yaakov receives the blessings. Yitzchak, we see throughout the Chumash, is what we would call in English, so to speak, introverted. He's a very internal person. In Zayar it says he's Midas HaGvura, Midas HaYira, versus Avram, who's Midas HaChesed. Avram is, so to speak, extroverted. Avram travels the world. Avram is connected to the world. Avram is out there constantly. And the Rambam says in Avram would travel from city to city and lecture everywhere and gather masses. Avram Avinu would have rallies where he would speak and articulate. He's the ultimate. Disposition is completely different. In many ways, opposite. And it will come out in their children. And in every story it comes out. Yitzchak and Rivka, sometimes you have a husband and wife that have many similarities. There's always differences. Yitzchak and Rivka in many ways are opposites. At first glance, if you want to apply this in a very practical way to our lives, Yitzchak and Rivka should have not gotten along very well. Especially when they disagree about kids, and especially after the story with the brachas. After the story with the brachas, you would expect Yitzchak to call him Rivka. Say, Rivka, listen. This is not going well. I mean, I'm trying to do one thing, and everything I'm trying to do, you're going to usurp me. I mean, this is, can't have shalom bayis like this. And yet it's interesting. You see Sarah gets upset at Avram Avinu, Chamasi Alecha. Yaakov gets upset at Rachel. Vayicher Af Yaakov Berachel. However you understand these upsetness. With Yitzchak and Rivka, you never have a moment of upsetness. It's the only one that after the marriage, it says Vayehaveh, he loves her. It doesn't say by Avram and Sarah. By Yaakov it says before. And then later it says Vayehav Gamas Rachel, Milei in contrast to Leah. The only one that it says after the wedding. Vayehav Yaakov es Rachel says before the wedding. No, that's not Chiddush. That's by a lot of people. The Chiddush by Yitzchak and Rivka is it says afterwards. Vayiviyah Yitzchak Koyahel and Chayesara. And then Vayahaveha. Rabbi Shimshon Rafal Hirsch has a whole nice tickle on this. It's Chumash. The love that comes afterwards. Sometimes the more you get to know somebody, it's the opposite. The less I know you, I love you. After, it becomes more complicated because now you really know the person. That was the Chiddush by Yitzchak and Rivka, and you would think it would be the exact opposite. So what's the Nakud in this? So that's what the Balatani says, it's all in one pasuk. And Avimelech is the one who hit the jackpot with this when he said, V'hina Yitzchak mitzachek es Rivka ishta. Yitzchak and Rivka had one quality that many, many couples need to have. And that is, I'm applying this to practical life based on the ideas here. And that is, they knew how to laugh. They understood the secret of humor. They understood the power of mitzachek. Yitzchak and Rivka understood for their relationship, kavayachol, not only to be maintained, but to be powerful, they have to learn and discover the art of laughter, which Yitzchak was already trained with because he was named with that name. His mother and father knew that Yitzchak is going to need this ingredient. Now, it's not just the ability for a husband and a wife to laugh, to enjoy, that also, but it represents something, and that is to be able to appreciate the uniqueness of the unexpected, not to be rigid and frigid and fixed. This is it, and this is how it's going to remain. Yitzchak mitzachek es Rivka ishtoi. Yitzchak learned that the greatest tzchoik will only come through the connection, the relationship, Dafka with Rivka, and of course Rivka the same thing. For Yitzchak and Rivka to drift into different paths, that would have been predictable. That every chacham could say, yeah, this is not going to work. Of course it's not going to work. Why should it work? You're you. Of course, it's always that way. You're you, the other person is them. They have different natures, different wants, different desires, different appetites. They even like different colors. This one likes milchiks, this one likes fleishiks. This one wants the window shades open, window shades closed, lights on, lights off. This one has this perspective, that perspective. Of course it's not going to work. That's all in a predictable world. A world where everything follows a certain pattern and you don't deviate from that pattern. The chiddush of a person is that which seems easy not to work, you're going to make it work. In other words, you're going to generate an unexpected punchline. You're going to generate a tzchoik, a tainug, a laughter that comes precisely from looking at a situation and then seeing that which is not fixed. Seeing the ability for growth, for transformation, for flexibility, for going much deeper. That's the tzchoik that comes out afka through Rivka. It's the art of humor that didn't only keep them close together, but it allowed a very powerful connection, a very powerful relationship that couldn't happen any other way. They surprised each other. What would this mean very practically? Practically, it would mean, imagine a husband and a wife can have such a conversation. At the present moment, we're supposed to get into an argument. We know that. And we could follow the same patterns of 5 years, 10 years, 18 years. He says, she says, she says, he says, he says, she says. We know exactly. This happens, he reacts, she reacts, he reacts, he reacts. And anybody who's a little bit of a maven in these things could already predict. Yeah, there was a physicist who said, if you give me all the information about the physical world, I'll predict the entire future. I don't need anything else. He didn't know about quantum mechanics. That's tzchoik. So the same thing, if you can have all the information about two people, somebody will say, I'll predict exactly what's going to happen the next 7 years. You don't even have to bother doing it. We'll do the script. It's every day the same thing, even if it's in different words. Today it's about the child. Tomorrow it's about Shabbos. The next day it's about guests. The next day it's about Pesach. The next day is where we're having a Hanukkah party. It's the selbe machloikes in an andere Werte. Because it's the same insecurities. We have to use the word trauma. It doesn't work without it. It's the same insecurities being triggered. It's the same traumas being triggered. It's the same issues. Today it plays itself out in Hanukkah. Tomorrow's going to be Purim. The next day it's going to be Pesach. And the next day it's going to be about your daughter, about your son, about the school, about the job, about the finances, about the house, about Monsey, about waking up in the morning and leaving the house or not leaving the house. But that's only the Hechitimtza. The Nekudas are always the same. The Nekudas are two people following the patterns, the scripts of their psyches, consciously and usually unconsciously, and clashing. Where does human creativity begin? When you stop that and you say, okay, we can go this way, but why don't we turn this into a joke? Turning it into a joke doesn't mean it's not serious. Turning it into a joke means, why don't we turn this into an opportunity to laugh? What's the ability to laugh? The ability of the laugh is, don't stay stuck in that pattern. Go out of the box. Look at it. See that happening. And then say, you know what? Today, I'm going to respond this way instead of that way. And as we spoke many times, this doesn't mean that you respond the other way. Avodas habirurim, as he calls it, means the moment you're aware of it, you could respond another way. Doesn't mean that you eliminate any other element. It means you become aware of the pattern. You're aware where the choo-choo train. You know the tracks, and you say, you know what? Today, the response, I'm going to choose a different response. And when that happens, Hashem looks back and says, wow, that was funny. That was funny. That was a good one. Tzchoik, that was a good one. That creates tainug also in the person. That was unexpected. That was unexpected. So if you're following the expected, fine, gesundheit. Laughter in life always comes from the unexpected. Within yourself also. You haven't spoken to somebody in 5 years. Because of a serious issue, something happened. You decide enough is enough. Enough is enough. It's time to make up. No need to be a fight in the family or a fight in the business or a fight in the community, etc. You call. Text doesn't work with this. The call. And you call. Now we're going to have Bissel Tainuk. It's all harmony. So, Nafnahofen that Zambekalem the Tikkun. So you want to call. And of course you're calling the person and you hang up the phone 3 times. Because you get, what is it called? Butterflies in the stomach or anxiety. And you hang up, and then of course you justify, I shouldn't be doing it, he should call, of course. And then you explain that and you find probably Allah and Shulchan Aruch, all the reasons, but they're all reasons of fear. Just trying to keep you stuck in this place, which is a little bit more comfortable. It's what the Jewish people always say, Nitna Roish v'nashuva Mitzrayim. Let's just go back to the familiar. It was a horrible place in Egypt. But there were cucumbers in Egypt that were free. They will kratzos. The psyche will kratzos every excuse to keep you in your own Mitzrayim, or what some people would call in your addictions, in your comfort zone. There was free fish by the Nile Delta. They had free fish. Today they would call it sushi. Then they called it Zachainu as Hadogash and Kishuyim, Avatichim. They had onions and garlic and lemon, and they got excited.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yes, Stockholm syndrome. They were drowning your kinderlach. They were enslaving you and trying to commit genocide. But there was free lemon. There were free onions. So there were free cucumbers or squash and lemons in Mitzrayim. No, Mela, Aglik is Megashan. What's the pshat? The pshat is, it's familiar. The familiar is always more safe than unfamiliar. Not because it's better, it's killing you. But at least it's familiar. Tzchoik means never be afraid of the unfamiliar terrain. Never be afraid of exploring that which is not familiar, which is not predictable. Of course, this doesn't mean it's a mitzvah to take a path. If you're driving, not to go on the highway, to take a path. We're talking about something that can lead to a productive life. The mitzvah here is not to go off a path because everyone drives on it and therefore have to go through the forest, travel through the forest where you're endangering yourself. We're talking the fact that a person knows that this can be transformed, this can be dealt with. This hapche chashoicha l'nahir. That was the koyach of Yitzchak and Rivka. Yitzchak mitzachik as Rivka yishtai. Yitzchak and Rivka understood that laughter will only come from their connection. So not only did their differences not tear them apart, their differences actually brought them closer because it gave each of them an opportunity for laughter every single day. And that was the power of that relationship. They didn't have to be the same. They could be different. On the contrary, tzchoik only happens when we're different because then it's very unexpected. If we're exactly identical, then of course the relationship works. When we're different, and who's not different? God made men and women to be different. There's of course many similarities, but there's many differences. Sometimes it's stark differences. But if a person could look at the difference not as an invitation to fight, but as an invitation to surprise yourself, to flex your muscles, so to speak, to flex like in a dance where you have to flex your limbs and flex your organs and expand and go to places that, yes, when you flex your body, in different types of movements, it could be shocking for the muscles. And the muscles will say, don't do this. But when you stretch, there's a special sensation, a special feeling that comes from the fact that you went beyond the limit. That's always the source of tzchok and tainug on every level: physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual, and even physical. That's what happened with Yitzchak and Rivka. Rivka ultimately now in Ruchnius represents in every person's avodah the idea of the animals coming together, which means that an animal soul naturally is completely focused on itself. And when the Nefesh HaBahamis is elevated, when there's laughter created, when you refine yourself, when you refine your animal, when you find the idealism in yourself, what happens is Rivka, they peer together. A unity is created. As we said, the closer you come back to the source, the more unity. So the tzchok of Yitzchak, who represents the tainug of Hashem, which will be Nizgala La'asad Lava, only came through Rivka. And then comes the last point, and that's the reason why it was Rivka who had to go down to the well. V'ateirid ha'ayna v'tamali kad. Eliezer says, Hine anoichi nitzav aleina moy. And here he gave a gewaldige diuk that anoichi is a remes for anoichi Hashem Elokecha, which would be the beginning of Torah. Aya. Oyu advarim ha'ela asher anoichi mitzavcha yom malavavach. These are the words that I, anoichi, me, I am standing aleina moy. Because when it's not at a river, we're talking here about the Ein, the invisible wellspring. Back to the beginning, if you remember the beginning of the Mayim, the invisible wellspring. That's the shoirish of all the rivers. That's what stands aleina moy. That's where Torah mitzvahs come from. Torah mitzvahs come from the Ein Sof itself. Asher anoichi mitzavcha. That's where Torah mitzvahs come from. Who goes down to that well of the infinity and draws out the water, vatemali kada, and fills up the chavdalid svarim da'iraisa, meaning retrieves from infinity. What's the word? Queries out of the mayan of infinity. The Torah and the mitzvahs. The mother of this person is Rivka, which is an interesting thing. You see, Chazal say, Rashi brings that when Eliezer gave her the gifts, he gave her a bekel legulgoyles for machzas hashekel. He gave her 2 bracelets for the shtei luchas, asara zav for asara sadibris. You're coming to find a shidduch for Yitzchak. He's starting to give her gifts that represent asara sadibris, but the luchas from the machzas hashekel. What, where, when? It's going to happen hundreds of years later. The pshat is, even in pshat, even if you don't have to go deeper. You see Rashi already that in these gifts, in this shidduch was being built the home that will ultimately create the foundation of the people that can receive Torah. Who can go down to the well? Not Yitzchak, not even Eliezer. Nobody can go down to the well. Only the person who's Rivka, the person who's ready to challenge their animal, beastly soul and transform it and create unity within a world of fragmentation and diversity. That is the person who can ultimately bring down the anoichi, the ultimate core, the ultimate infinite, undefined essence into the physical world, which is the whole function of Torah and mitzvahs, as he explained, to transform klippas noiga, to transform the whole klippa of the world, klippas noiga, into kedusha, into elikus, which is what every single mitzvah does. No difference which mitzvah, whether it's trumas or maestris or tzedakah or tefillin or mezuzah, you're always dealing with a material, and which is what the whole Torah does, because the most of Torah, as he said, zroyim and moyed and nashim and nezikin and kachim taris, is always most of it, if not all of it, is dealing with material world, mitzvahs maestris, whether you're dealing with agriculture or karbonis, or astronomy, or animals, or whatever you're dealing with, properties, whether it's Baba Basra, you're always dealing with the physical world, and you're transforming it. So Malachim, they can't get to Torah because they don't have a Yetzer Hara. There's no Rivka by Malachim, and therefore there's no Tzchok by Malachim. Who can access the Anoichi, who can access the Mayan, is only the Rivka, the person of transformation. And here comes out the real reason for this. The real reason for this is that the only definition we have for Hashem is that we have no definition. In other words, the moment we define God, it's already not God. There's no definition for Hashem. The moment there's a definition, it's already not that. It's our picture of it, even a very spiritual definition. There's no definition. The one definition that we have is, therefore, that there's no definition. It's surprise. It's not fixed. There's no picture of it, physical picture, or emotional picture, or spiritual picture. And that's why we call it Hashem. Hashem means the name. The name, as we said many times, is the way I call you. It's not who you are. The name that people have is the name that they're known. Hashem means the name. In other words, when we talk about God, we always have to acknowledge it's our way of talking about it. Whatever I'm thinking, when I'm talking about it, it's the name. I'm describing my experience of it. Like describing the sun by a ray that comes into the room. And I'll say, what's the sun? Look at the light that comes into the room. Well, not much now, but you understand the point. That's the whole sun. It's how I'm experiencing the sun. Is it true? It's true. The ray comes into my basement. That's true. Does that capture the whole sun? Does it capture 5%? 10% doesn't capture even a fraction of a fraction. But it's still true. It's still true. So kivayachal, what's the keli? So here is where it comes together. Where does the person ultimately connect to the deepest place of reality, to the deepest place of the divine? If within themselves they find that which is undefined, which is the idea of tzchak. In other words, we find God most in situations in life when we don't take things the way they are, but we surprise ourselves. When in life something looks one way, and you have the courage to say, I know it looks this way, I know it feels this way, but I have the ability to go deeper and shock that and define that and redefine that. That's where the human creativity touches the ultimate Mayim, the ultimate invisible well, which can't be defined. When I live life in the predictable, in the pattern, I touch predictable energy. Where do I touch the nekuda of anoichi? I touch the nekuda of anoichi when I touch the nekuda of my anoichi, so to speak, which is never defined in one way, which is the concept of tzchak. Was sagst du? Yeah. Now let's see further. V'zehu Mayim Rabim lo yuchlu l'chabes asava. And this is the deeper meaning in the pasuk. Mayim Rabim, many waters, lo yuchlu l'chabes asava. So the Zohar types Mayim Rabim is not like another pshat in Torah or Noach, tsunamis, raging waters, the stresses of life, which is another pirush. But here the Zohar interprets it as a very lofty thing. Mayim Rabim are all the great rivers. As he said in the beginning of the Maimer, Nahari Law, the Mehei Nafke Nahar, and the ultimate river, as he touched to the river that comes into Gan Eden. From there come out the great rivers. And that's the Mayim Rabim, and that can't extinguish the love, which l'chayra, those Mayim Rabim represent the rivers coming into Gan Eden. What do you mean they don't? They're not competing with love. On the contrary, they're all divine expressions. Pirush. Mayim Rabim who are Yizbainen Sha'adam Masigum Yizbainen B'Gedulas Hashem B'Yichudei Elah B'Yichudei Tata B'Pasuk Shema Yisrael Baruch Shem Peit Malchus Elam Va. Mayim Rabim represents also the raging waters of his beinenus, of contemplation, of meditation, that a person internalizes and comprehends, appreciating the truth and the relevance. Gedulas Hashem literally means greatness, but I think the real translation, greatness, is not just that he's great. Gdula, Gadol Hashem, means the relevance of God, that it permeates you. It's you. It's who you really are. Gdulas Hashem, Gadol Hashem, means you appreciate the infinity of it, the truth of it, the relevance of Hashem in your life. When a person really gets this, whether it's Yichudei Elah, a higher level of unity, or Yichudei Tata, a lower level of unity, which doesn't get, it's discussed in other Maimarim. In Zohar it says there's two types of perceptions of Hashem's unity. There's what's called Yichudei Elah, that's Shema Yisrael, and Baruch Shem Peit Malchus Elam Va, Yichudei Tata is a lower level, a lower perception of unity. Both represent unity, both represent oneness. But there's what's called a higher consciousness of unity, a lower consciousness of unity, which here is not the focus of this. But when a person appreciates either one, which naturally will produce an emotional inspiration. When somebody sees the relevance of something and the oneness and the connection, there's an excitement, there's a passion. And the real, the person who is sincere. So this love can be very deep, very great, to the point of a thirst. What the pasuk continues, B'chol maidecha, with all your might, b'li gvul, without limit. V'lo yuchal ha'ashkit v'lechabes tzimoyin ha'avad zu adei Mayim Rabim atzmon sheyais beinenus hanisker lo shemasi b'yichud elav b'yichud tata. Shouldn't think that he'll be able to quiet or still or quench this thirst of love through the water itself, through the hisbeinenus itself, through the meditation, through the awareness, through the mindfulness, through the contemplation, through the hisbeinenus itself that you understand. Do not think that this love will be satisfied, that you will quench the thirst through this type of awareness and contemplation and learning and meditation and really getting into it. Why not?
This sounds like a very revolutionary statement for the
yes.
Like we spoke about in terms of Chassidus.
Yes.
But he's basically saying all the dveikus, all the shuffling is not where it's going to be at.
Yes. Yeah. The ultimate ava will not be satisfied through this type of hisbeinenus. Even though, what do you mean? This is the bread and butter that's fueling the love. This type of meditation and this type of dveikus and this type of spiritual ecstasy. And the answer is Kiyim Ratz Lipcha Shuv Le'echad. This is a statement from Sefer Yetzirah. When your heart is running, go back to one. What's pshat? Hu dafka aydei esek haTorah mitzvahs ma'asiyos. The person must come back, so to speak, to Torah mitzvahs ma'asiyos, learning Torah and mitzvahs in Maisa, shezel b'chinas asher anoichi mamish mitzavcha, because then he'll be able to touch the anoichi. Yeah. The essence, the anoichi, he'll be able to touch through this. Even though l'chayr would be fakert. In spiritual experiences and meditation, you get much more. Person is learning in Torah, doing a mitzvah, b'payel. It seems to be sometimes dull. It can even be boring and monotonous, and it could be boring and monotonous. So it would seem that where do you touch truth? You touch truth in the spiritual contemplation. That's a much more spiritual experience that feels much more godly. So he says, Ataka feels more godly. But this ava that the soul is looking for will never be silenced with that. Only through the anoichi. Mashen can be a dia of hisbeinenus levad. When a person knows awareness and contemplation, hurak yedias mitziusai. It's knowing his mitzias. It's knowing about the reality. But it's not the anoichi, which would be like grabbing and fetching and holding on to his essence. Yedias hametzias is a great thing, but it's not tfisa b'musay v'atzmusay. An example would be, as there's an expression, the map is not the territory. The map is not the territory. The map teaches you about the territory. In fact, you'll know about the territory through the map much more than by being in the territory. But when I'm looking at Italy on the map, I see a boot. And I can analyze the boot and dissect the boot and take a picture of it. And I'm an expert on Italy. But I never touched Italy. I never touched the soil. When you're sitting here right now in New York City, you can't see what New York City looks like. You don't have the bird's eye view, the detachment. So the map is very tempting because the map gives you the picture. But the map doesn't allow you access. You're not touching the soil itself. So he says, hisbeinenus, all awareness of the divine is yedias hametzias. It's like the map. You get to know more and more and more, which is great. But where's the mohus? Where's the tfisa? Where do you hold on? It's like a person waxes about love and about a relationship, but they never actually hold on to it. They never touch the pulse of the other person. The actual connection, the actual relationship, the experience of the relationship itself beyond the appreciation of it, the awareness of it. And sometimes in the experience itself, you don't have that glamour. I don't see what New York looks like when I'm touching the soil, but I'm in it. I'm inside of it. I can't see it because I'm inside of it. When I'm outside of it, I can see it. So I know the mitzias, but I don't have it. I have the map. I don't have the territory. And the map is not the territory.
Isn't that true of one's inner world too?
Yes.
It's a map, but you can't touch the essence.
Yes. So some of us only live in the map. Some of us, our whole life, we live in the map. We have like pictures. We look at ourselves. We have pictures. We take pictures what Italy looks like. All in us, we take pictures of our mind, our heart. but I'm never inside it. I take a picture of it. I look at it, and it's a very safe place. With a map, you could travel the world. It's free. You have a globe in your dining room, and you go here, you go there, you go there. But you're not there. You don't touch it. So Kavayachal, he says, with Hashem himself, all the hisbaitinus, all the yediyah and all that, it's all yediyah sametzias. The tfisa b'mahusiv atzmusay, the grabbing on, that's a whole different inyan. They have mitzvahs maisias, the ramach pikud and inu ramach evar in the malka. On this, the Zohar says the 248 mitzvahs are the ramach evarim, the 248 limbs of the king. What does he try to say, the Zohar? When I chap you on, I hug you, I take your arms, I take your feet, I take your head, I touch your heart, I embrace you, I'm touching your evarim the malka. The mitzvahs maisius in Yiddishkeit, that's the tfisa of evarim the malka. The Jew who's learning Torah, he's being toifus mohusay v'atzmusay kavayachal. He's toifus da noichi mitzavcha hayoim. And that's not in the Ratz Libcha, that's in the Shuvla Echad.
What's the Rashi Tevis Mem Hevavai?
B'mehusay v'atzmusay. B'mehusay v'atzmusay. Mehusay, his essence, v'atzmusay, and his core, his etzem, his atzmius. Yeser al kain, even deeper. Afilu ha'asagas shebegan Eden. Even this is even in this world. This is in this world. Even in Gan Eden. Sheyasagas muhuzi v'ashchina mamash v'loy mitzius elevad. Which in Gan Eden you have asagas ha'muhus. Not only asagas ha'mitzius. Mitzius of something is the existence of something. Muhus of something is muhus comes from the word mahu, the essence, the core. There's hasagas hamitzius and hasagas hamuhus. Hasagas hamitzius is you hear about something, it's described to you. So you understand the reality, but you don't get its core. Then when you see it, it's hasagas hamuhus. In this world, our awareness of the divine is always mitzius. In Gan Eden, it's hasagas hamuhus. Why? Because the ziv hashchina mamish v'loy mitzius ilava. So l'chayr over there, it's much deeper. Im kol zeh, nonetheless, even in Gan Eden, al zeh nemar. On this, the pasuk says, Mayim Rabim, hanim shachim minara yotzem Eden. Even the Mayim Rabim that come from the Nahar, that comes out of Eden to be mashke the Gan, lo yuchlu l'chabes esava, the b'chinas Rivka, the Ava of Rivka. The Ava that Rivka has, Rivka represents the soul down here in this world, encumbered by everything in this world, which has an ava, which has a yearning to connect, which has a yearning to go out of its encasement and touch true reality. Though this it will never be quenched, even with Mayim Rabim of Gan Eden itself. Why? The pasuk says in Tehillim, Mili b'shamayim ve'imcha lechafatzti baretz. David HaMelech says in Tehillim, who do I have in heaven? And with you I desire nothing on earth. So literally, the pshat is, like we said earlier in the Mayim, who do I have in heaven? With you I desire nothing on earth. I have you, I'm good. He teaches here, Mili Bashamayim refers to Gan Eden Elyon. V'imcha lechafatzti baretz refers to Gan Eden Atachtet. Even that, David HaMelech says, it's not satisfying. Ki hagilu shebegan Eden, the revelation in Gan Eden, nikra ziv v'ha'ara, nikra rak ziv ha'ara b'lvad. It's called, the Gemara calls it ziv hashchina, which ziv is only a ray, a glimmer. V'nikra, that's why it's called lekabel pras. When we want to talk about a spiritual prize, Chazal always have the expression, like in Pirkei Avos and other places, al tiyach v'adam ha'mashamshin ha'sarav al manas lekabel pras. What's pras? The word in English, prize, comes from the word pras. I think it's a Greek word, if I'm not mistaken. One of the other languages, pras, which means a prize, pras. But we know that pras really in Lashon Kodesh has a different meaning. We use it on Shabbos or on Pesach. What do we call it? A prusa. There's the shleima and there's the prusa. The prusa is a broken piece of bread, and the shleima is a whole piece of bread, right? So when you have to make a bracha on bread in the middle of the week and you have a shleima, you have a whole piece of bread or a whole challah and you have a broken, the halach is you make on the shleima, unless it's a completely different type and you don't want it. But you make, if you want both, you make on the shleima, not on the prusa. Pras means a piece, a fragment. Something broken off of something else is called a prusa, a shtickle. A shtickle broit is called a prusa, a piece that's broken off. So the Balatanya teaches that's the pshat lekabel pras. In other words, when we say don't focus on a prize, so when you look at it, it doesn't explain why. When you understand the deeper meaning of every word, it doesn't only tell you a fact, it also tells you why. In other words, whenever you understand the real interpretation of any word, you'll see that every statement is coming also with an explanation. So when it says, don't focus lekabel pras, it means don't focus on the prize. But when you understand what pras means, it also gives you the explanation. Lekabel pras, what's pshat lekabel pras? Loshem prusa, because it's only a prusa, it's only a piece. Do you want the peace or do you want the truth? This ava is to the essence. It's because I don't want the pras. In other words, Gan Eden and all the Giluyim Lamaila are all a ziv. It's a pras, it's a piece. It's a fragment of the divine, the way it's experienced in Gan Eden, the way the Mayim comes into the Nar. Where does one touch the essence? Where does one touch the core? Where can the true Ava? The Ava is not just, I want a peace, I want the light, I want to feel good with you. I want you. I want you in your core. I want you in your undefined essence. I want the Anoichi Nitzav Aleina Mayim. That's going to be in the Vetamale Kada, that's going to be in the Torah. And in the mitzvahs, even in the mitzvahs, in the dafka, in the mitzvahs, the way they come down into this world, which all deals with the physical world, side the Torah and side the mitzvahs. V'zeu noharis lo yishtafua. That's pshat, rivers can't drown this love. Ki be'ever hanar yashvu avesechem. Here comes one of his other types. We say in the Haggadah from Yehoshua, your forefathers lived on the other side of the river. That's why Avram is called Avram HaIvri. Ivri is the Hebrew. Comes from the word Aver, Ivri. Because Avram came, everybody said he's the refugee. What they used to call the Griner. You know, they came from the other side of the Atlantic. Avram was the Griner. He didn't grow up in Canaan. He grew up in Iraq. May Aver, on the other side of the river. On the other side of the Euphrates, the other side of the Tigris River. And he crossed the river, or the Jordan River, and he came to Eretz Yisrael. Be'ever hanar yashvu avesechem. And they came, lech lecha me'artzecha lo etz asher reka. That's al pipshat. But it also means something else. Shebchines ava rabba hanal himagas l'mayla afilu mebchines hanor hanal shomakir kol hanaharis. Me'ever hanar yashvu avesechem. Our forefathers are rooted beyond the river. The river that comes out of Eden to irrigate the Gan is the Ziv HaShchina. It's the river that comes out of the well to give the ray of God in Gan Eden. But Avaisechem, your fathers are rooted beyond the river. There's a love beyond the river. The river is the way it's restricted in a spiritual experience, which comes out in the Nar. But we all know that the Mayan is invisible and the Mayan is much deeper than the Nar. The Ava of Neshamas Yisrael, the Ava is not just to the river, and therefore it's not going to be satisfied by the river. It's looking for the essence. It's looking for the ultimate truth. It's looking for the ultimate core. It's not satisfied with a pras. I don't only want a piece of you the way it makes sense to me, the way I appreciate it, the way I enjoy it. I want the essence. I want the core. I want the full truth. And that's the question in life. What is a person satisfied with? Which aspect is a person satisfied with? Is a person satisfied? What if you have a choice? It's a question you have to answer. If you have a choice in life, one choice is you get the pras, and the pras always makes you feel good because it's limited. It trickles down. You could sit at the feet of somebody that always makes sense. It always builds you up. It feels good in your psyche because it's a pras. And a pras means it's a little piece. It's the ray of the sun that comes in and makes you warm and hot and brings you light and it's beautiful. Or you can get that which is the truth. But the moment you go there, it's not going to be a pras anymore. It's the core essence. And that means the eye of the person will be challenged at its core. That will demand a bittul, a completely different type of bittul, completely different type of sense of transcendence or self-nullification. Which one does a person really want? Sometimes you say, I just want the pras. I want to find myself. I want to find myself in the truth. I don't want to lose myself in the truth. I think that's the best way of saying it. There's only one problem. To find yourself in the truth, you can't get too much truth. If you want to find yourself in the truth, gesund to hate, but how much truth is it going to be? It's going to be the truth that allows me, it has a special place for me to sit, back seat, to watch the truth. If I want truth, I have to be ready to lose myself in the truth. And that's the big difference, even in the highest spiritual places. People want truth, I want the experience of it. In other words, I'm looking for pras. So Chazal say, don't look for pras, which is the prusa, which is a fragment, which is great. It's unbelievable. That's what Gan Eden represents. But me'ever hanor yashva v'seichem. Your soul is rooted beyond the nor yoytze me'eden la'ashkas hasagan. That's why in Chumash, the drama of creation begins with the nahar, but avoseichem, the story of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov begins be'ever hanor. It goes beyond that river, beyond the river that comes out into the Gan. And therefore, Mayim Rabim, that river, can't quench this love. The love will not be quenched through the flow of the river, because the Ava is deeper even than that river and all the rivers, certainly all the rivers that come afterwards, but even that river. B'meila, shul makar kol hanaris, v'imkein vadei hanaris lo yishtafuah. So if even Mayim Rabim, which is the river, will not silence and quench the thirst, certainly Naharis, the many rivers, will not quench the thirst because they're rooted in Be'ever Hanar Yashva V'Seich. So therefore, Mayim Rabim lo yuchlu l'chaba, says Ha'ava, there's something that even Gan Eden can't do for the soul. So David HaMelech says, Mili Bashamayim. Shamayim is not going to do this for me. Eretz is not going to do this. Even Gan Eden Elyon and Gan Eden Atachten. What will? Paradoxically coming back into the involvement within the physical world, where you have the Torah and the Mitzvahs, which l'chayda don't seem very holy and spiritual always. But over there you have the Anoichi Mitzav Chayim. Over there you have the essence of everything. The Anoichi Nitzav Alein Hamayim.
Something doesn't make sense to me. I understand that we have to do the work, we have to excavate, we have to dig, etc., transform it. But at the end of the day, by excavating, we get to the ultimate Gilui. The Malachim and the Horus, they have the Gilui without the
Davening is upstairs.
Because they don't have a location, so they don't have to excavate. But at the end, they get the same Gilui, but they just get it without the work. So why is that Gilui that they get anyway? If you say to me, Mili Bashamayim La'aretz, meaning the work that I had to do, the Elohim, to excavate Elohim, is what made it worthwhile, I understand that. But he seems to be saying they get a higher Gilui.
No.
But the end...
They only have access to Naharis, not to the Mayim.
But the Mayim means is just the work that we had to do to get to the same spot where they got to without the work.
No, the whole of the spot, so to speak. Malachim only relate to Naharis. That's what he said before. That Shabbos
We're doing the beer, we're doing the avoda, we're doing the rivka.
Gilui, he says, after Mavadi Nimshach Gilui L'Kos L'Malachim, this Mebchin is V'nor Yoytze Me'edin L'Ashkas Hasagan. The Bazeksiv HaYoshavas Baganem Chaverim Sheva Malachim HaKshivim L'Kolech. Avol Gilui B'chinas V'ateirid Ha'ayna Loi Nimshach Lem Kiyim L'Mata Dafne. L'chein B'dal Sidim Tzadikim Shem HaMalachim L'Fnem.
There's two Nekudas. One is that we do what they don't do. We have to excavate, we have to dig. And the second thing is that by doing that work, we actually get them higher.
This one thing is that by everything passes to avoida through work, and the avoida access is a whole other reality.
So it's both.
The Vateirid Ha'ayna is only by the Neshama. Yes. Gan Eden, HaYoshavas Baganem. It says HaYoshavas Baganem, HaYoshavas Baganem. She sits in gardens, Chaverim HaKshivim L'Koilech. So the Medrash Rabbi says on this, Chaverim al Malachim. Malachim come to listen to the Koil in Gan Eden. So you see that they come to Gan Eden. So he says that's where they come. But that's Gan. The Ziv.
You work harder, and at the end you
it's the Ziv, it's the pras of the sun. It's the
prus. At the end you get more. And this is really what human creativity, in terms of the creative, is. But when you said early on about Hinei Tov Mo, that's the ultimate time to be Tov. So does that mean if we take that a step further, that when the avod of history, as you call it, is all done, and Hinei Tov Mo, so do we have a shtickle recreation that each week that Shabbos gives us to be in Olam?
Yeah, of course, that's the idea. Shabbos is like the tzchoik of the time at the end of the week. Yeah, that's right. Every Shabbos is Yom. We say Rachman Yom Chilin and Yom Shabbat Shabbos because it's a foretaste. I know Olam Haba.
Thank you. The biggest honor to have you. So it's just a very interesting
You're right. That's why you need a map. Of course you need a map. We're not nullifying the map.
What I'm saying is that really,
Hear the story.
it looks complicated. It looks very complicated. It's really simple.
It's such a complex thing that people would not understand how this.
Good, very good. It's a good observation. You need a map. Okay, we're holding at the two dots, close to the bottom of the page, column 2, Daf Yud Ches. The line starts, Mekoir kol hanaharis v'imkein vadai u'naharis lo yishtafuah. So what we learned, the summation was that there is the river and there is the well, there is the nahar and there is the spring, which is beyond the river. Rivka manages to get into the well, into the Mayim, and to retrieve from there the kad of water, her jug of water physically. And spiritually, what it represents is that it's precisely when a person manages to confront. So it's precisely through Rivka that one can get into the well, which represents every story in Torah is not just a physical story, but it's also a symbolic story. That it's precisely one's work and sometimes one's struggle with the various animal souls forces that exist within them, which as a result of that, a person has to deal with any type of feeling that arouses from the nefesh habahamis, from the animal soul, which includes all types of emotions and experiences that cover up the klipa, that covers up the truth of how infinite, how holy, how sacred, how beautifully, how impeccable, how divine, how flawless the human soul is. And when I confront, when I deal, when I sublimate my animal soul, I don't run away from it. Precisely that allows me to access my mayon and not only my river, my wellspring and not only my river. Sometimes people ask, and it's a good question. I'm not sure the answer is as good as the question, but it's not an answer as an answer, it's just a perspective. There are different types of answers. There are answers that give answers and explain why. Then there are answers that give perspective, not why, but what to do about it. In life, the ultimate questions probably don't have easy answers or sometimes no answers. But the greatest answer is not always why. Why am I dealing with this? Why did this happen when I was a child? Why did this happen in my youth? Why did this happen in my business? Why did this happen in my marriage? Why did this happen in my yeshiva? Why did this happen here or there or there? Those questions are not really answerable, at least not by a regular bus of Adam, as we say in davening of Yom Kippur, Ata Yodeya, Rozei Olam v'Salumois Sisrei Kol Chai. You know the secrets of the universe and the secrets, the hidden layers of every single living creature. Reb Moshe Leib Sossever once said, Ata Yodeya Rozei Olam, you know the secrets of the world. Rozei Torah, the secrets of Torah, that some other people also know. Some of the big tzaddikim, Gaonim, Kabbalim, Talmidei Chachamim also knew some of the Rozei Torah, the secrets of the Torah. That's Rozei Torah. But Rozei Olam, the secrets of the world, how the world runs, that's Ata Yedeya. Only you know. Humans don't know this. Even Moshe Rabbeinu struggled with this question. The Gemara says in Brachas Daf Zayin of Tzadik V'Raloi, why bad things happen to good people, etc. Avraham Avinu, Moshe, the greatest of the great, because the secrets of the world you know. So the question is not always, the question must be phrased not as why, but more as what's my role now? What is my opportunity now? What is my calling? What is my calling now? And here we confront this question really. A person often asks, why, as I peel the layers of the onion, which is a form of klipa, a shell, and I peel one layer, there's another layer, and then another layer, and another layer. And it becomes very, very frustrating. It often becomes very annoying. There are people sitting here in this room who have been struggling with certain dark challenges or demons for many, many years. And even though they have made a lot of progress, which is extraordinary, but you can't say, when can I relax on my hammock with a pina colada and move to Florida, move to Palm Beach, Florida, or the Swiss Alps, and sit in absolute serenity and tranquility. Sagt the Balatanya, Gan Eden, do. Gan Eden is a gewaltige Sach, but that's where the rivers are. The Mayim, the wellspring, the true wellsprings of Ein Sof, of absolute truth and infinity, that you can't find even in Gan Eden. Where does one find that? This is Dafke Rivka could reach it. And Rivka, as the mother of the Jewish people, this was the moment that created her shidduch with Yitzchak, which creates the ultimate schayk, which means that every person has the same Mayim. In every person there's the river, those, let's call them the conscious flow of water, because Naharas, as he said, are visible. It's what you see. Then there's the well springs, the deepest well springs of wisdom, of inspiration, of water, of depth, that are completely invisible. They're inaccessible. You have to dig and dig and dig through gravel and dirt and rubble and debris and earth and soil and sometimes rocks and pebbles and boulders maybe to get to that Mayim. And in every person's life as well, the Mayim, the wellspring of a person, the true Pnimius, the true Mohus, the true Atzmus, the core of cores that is rooted in the Mayim above, in the wellspring above, can only happen through Rivka. Rivka was a person, everything that she had to confront, she had to fight for. Her background was different, her father was different, her brother was different, the entire family was different. The Medrash says Rivka is kishoshana bein hachuchim, like a rose plucked from the thorns. A rose is bedecked and surrounded and encompassed by thorns, and Rivka is kishoshana bein hachuchim, it's a rose plucked by thorns. So the person says, why does the rose have to be among thorns? Why are there thorns? Why are there issues? Why is everybody carrying baggage and luggage? But instead of, and sometimes baggage in so many different places. And some people just tell them, get over it. But sometimes it's not so easy to get over it. Somebody told me an anecdote. There was a fellow who came to the airport, and he asked the person at the clerk there at the desk, he was checking in his luggage. He said he has 3 suitcases. Man says, fine. He says, but I want 1 suitcase to go to Los Angeles, 1 to go to Miami, and 1 to go to Tel Aviv. The guy says, I'm sorry. This is against policies. It's illegal. We're not allowed to do this. He says, last time you did it without me asking. So people sometimes have their luggage dispersed also, scattered in a lot of different places with a lot of different calculations, with a lot of different experiences. And one of the big messages here is that yes, I have to confront that, but that's my only channel, it's my only portal to my ultimate Mayim. If I want to live a surface life, I could live a surface life. People survive on the surface. But the depth, the true you, will never be able to emerge. The true I will never be able to emerge. And the more you're afraid of something, the more it means that there's a Mayim under it. The more you're afraid of something, the more you run away from something, it's usually because there's a wellspring there. So instead of running from it, it's really summoning you. The Mayim is calling, it's beckoning you. Come drink. Come drink from your own wellsprings of water. How can the Mayim beacon you? How does it have access to you? Sometimes the only way it can beacon you is through a negative emotion. But the negative emotion is really an invitation. So for example, if I'm afraid to talk about something or to confront something or to deal with something, it seems so imposing, so difficult, so challenging. Really, it's the Mayim, it's my wellspring, it's my internal fountainhead of water that is summoning me and saying, come drink from me, come explore me. But I don't have yet a positive relationship with it. So all it can do is it implants some type of feeling, some type of emotion. I'm afraid of this because there's an intense relationship here. That's the most I can access at the moment. So whenever you're feeling afraid or these similar types of emotions, don't run from it, because that's the act. That's accessing something. That's teaching you something. It's pointing you somewhere. The Baal Shem Tov once said that Hashem wants an intimate relationship with people constantly. but they won't understand the language. When he says, hi, I love you, I want to be with you. So he'll send in some type of love to something or some type of fear for something. And that's a channel, really, to be able to realize that there is a search here. You're searching for real love. You're searching for a different type of fear, a different type of awe, a different type of reverence. So when we stand at the face of the Maya, we have no way to access it, only through Rivka, when we ourselves can confront our animal consciousness with everything that comes with that animal consciousness that feels itself separated, and all the feelings that come with separation, the insecurities, the loneliness, the solitariness, the pain, the frustrations, the fear of engagement, whatever every person, kol chad lefim shur delay, whatever their nefesh Bahamas develops into, from a little cute puppy into often a very complicated animal that lives in its own orbit or its own zoo or its own jungle or in its own cage. Depends where you ended up. And it's that confrontation of Rivka that allows one to go into the wellspring. So the person says, when is Gan Eden? When am I going to have paradise? So that's what he says. Mayim Rabim lo yuchlu lechabes hasav. That the greatest waters of Gan Eden, v'nohar yoytze me'eden la'ashkas hasagan, and all the other rivers are powerful, they're amazing. That's what the malachim have, that's what the neshamas have. But the ava of a neshama, mili b'shamayim v'imcha lechafatzti ba'aretz, the Baal Chaim used to say, ich will nicht den Gan Eden Elyon, ich will nicht den Gan Eden Atachten, ich will menish das dich allein, I want you. So even the greatest giluyim of the Naharais are only ziv hashchina. It's almanas lekavol pras. It's a prusa. It's a fragment. It's one that's very, very powerful and enthralling and fulfilling. But there's something deeper even in the pras, and that's the Mayan itself, the core itself, the muhus itself. So Mayim Rabim will never ever extinguish that type of love, that type of quest, even though that's a whole different, puts a person in a completely different place. Unaharis, and the river is lo yishtafua, because be'ever anar yashva v'seichem. The Yiddish neshama v'seichem comes from a place that's ever anar, that's beyond the river. Now the pasuk continues. The next piece in the pasuk is, again, there's the pshat, and there's how he's going to explain it. Al pi nister. If a person will give all of his money to buy love, he will be shamed. People will look at it as a shameful act. For a person to think that you could buy love with money. As I said, you could buy connections. You can't buy love. You could buy contacts. You could buy contact lists. You can't buy relationships. You can buy a clock. You can't buy time. You can buy a house, but you can't buy a home. That's al pi pshat. That there's a love that will not get extinguished, and it's also priceless. There's no money that you could pay for it. Here, based on the pshat in this Mayim, on a deeper spiritual level, he's also going to explain the second part a little different. A lot different. In Lashon Kodesh in Hebrew, im sometimes means when. Im in Chumash in Tanakh could mean if, which means it's a suffix, may be, may not be. Im tavai, im loy tavai, whether you're going to come or not come. But sometimes im is a vadai, it's just when. For example, Lamashal, Kemoyim Kesef Talva, Parshas Mishpatim. It's not if you'll lend money to a poor person. Al pi Torah, there's an obligation. Im Kesef Talva is not if. In other words, if you decide, it's a mitzvah to do. It's an instruction that if a person has the capacity, they should give a loan, a gemilas chesed, to somebody who needs it. The next is Im Yiyahav Yovel. The pasuk in Parshas Bar. If Yovel will come, it's not if. Yovel is coming. The Jubilee year is coming. Every 50 years you have a Yovel. It's not Im Yiyahav Yovel. Again, it means when, kasher, when Yovel will come. This and these are the laws of the Jubilee year in Parshas Bahar. Shein ze lashon safek lashon bevadi yadav v'yavod. V'lashon im kan ene lashon kasher. Pirush kasher kesef talva esani loisia loikanoisha. Im kesef talva esani, that if when you lend money, don't be a noisha, meaning don't come and nudge him if you know he doesn't have. Don't come and make him uncomfortable with that he didn't pay you. V'chei kasher yovel. When yovel comes, these are the halachas of yovel. Ukamoikein im yitenish. Again, according to the literal interpretation, is if a person is going to give money for love, they will shame him. Im yitenish over here means something else also. Pirush kasher yitenish. Ish Chazal says HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Say Hashem ish mulchama. Ish HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sheyitin bevada. He will give it. Hashem will give hoin beisay ba'ava. V'hainu la'asid. Sheyitin u'losh asid. Yitin is future. La'asid lava yitin is kol hoin beisay. That in the future Hashem will kavayachol give. Kol hoin beisay, all of the wealth of his home, all of his assets, so to speak. Shebizman hazeh einei balei gilu. Now it's still not revealed. Kiyim la'asid afka, only in the future. Ish Hashem will give yitain achagam shenze begoli achshav. Even though now one doesn't have access in the revealed way to kol hoin beisay. Kol hoin beisay means all of his treasures, all of his assets, all of his oysters, all of his wealth. Kol hoin beisay, not a fragment of it, not a pras, all of it. So even though now it's not revealed, nonetheless, this reality of hoin beisay is mamish, not exaggeration. It's mamish accessed ayidei Torah through Torah. Chavdalet svarim da'iraisa. The 24 svarim of Tanakh, which, and of course the Chavdalet svarim includes the whole Torah, because the whole Torah is a commentary on the Tanakh. Mishnayos, Gemara, Bavli, Yerushalmi, Rishonim, Acharonim, Poiskim, Sifrei Nigla, Sifrei Halacha, Sifrei Nister, all svarim of Torah are essentially an elaboration, an expansion of the kad, of the jug of Rivka, made of the Chavdalet svarim da'iraisa. The Gemara Psachim explains the Psukim in Torah Shebeksav on Pesach. What to do, how to do it, to make sure it's done, how to implement it, all of the various intricacies and details. Gemara Shabbos, Gemara Erev, everything, Gemara Brachas. Any concept in Torah, any reality in Torah is all an extension of the kad, of the Chavdalet Svarim Da'iraisa. So he says, don't think this is only something of the future. It's nimshach mamish ayidei b'chinas Torah. In Torah, one has the essence, one has the Mayim, one has the full invisible infinity of the Ein Sof. And not only Da'iraisa, but also mitzvahs maisias, the mitzvahs of Maisa, meaning all of the 630 mitzvahs that the Torah enumerates. Shehem b'chinas, all of them go into the words. V'hayu hadvarim ha'ela, these are the words. These words, Asher Anoichi Mitzav Chaya. Anoichi, he doesn't say Ani, he doesn't say Hashem, he doesn't say Elokim. Anoichi Misha Anoichi. Anoichi means I am who I am. In other words, I have no definition. It's I in my core of the I, without names. Nimshach Hayidei Zeh. You're going to access Anoichi through Advarim Me'ela. There's Anoichi nitzav aleina Mayim, as he said. Eliezer says, I stand, which the remez is Anoichi Hashem Elokecha, Anoichi mitzav chayim. That stands aleina Mayim. That is what Rivka was accessing, Kivayachol, in the Mayim, and she was bringing it up to Eliezer, and as a result of that, she can come to Yitzchak, Mitzachik as Rivka Ishtoi, and create the foundation of the Jewish people. That's also the interpretation of mitzavcha. Mitzavcha literally means I command you. The word mitzvah means commandment. Mitzvah is miloshen tzivui. Letzavah is to command. Tzavah is b'nei Yisrael. Asher anoichi mitzavcha is the words that I command you, I instruct you. But the word mitzvah in Lashon Kodesh has a much deeper meaning. Comes the word tzafsa. Tzafsa means connection, a link, a bond. It's sometimes hard for people to be commanded. But everybody wants to be connected. I don't know anybody who doesn't want to be connected. So there's two ways of looking at a mitzvah. One is a mitzvah is a commandment, which it's true, it is a commandment. But a mitzvah is also tzafsa v'chibur. It's an opportunity for a connection. A connection with whom? A connection with your core self. A connection with the core of reality, with Anoichi, with Hashem Himself. Lashon tzafsa v'chibur. That's the Anoichi Mitzavcha. So through the Chavdalet Svarim and the Mitzvah, one has the Mitzavcha, the connection with Anoichi. Im Yitei Nishas Kol Hain Beisai. The Ish, Zah HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you Kol Hain Beisai. The entire wealth, Kol Hain Beisai. V'zeh, and that's why they made a brach. Baruch Atah Hashem. Elokeinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvaysav, which is the blessing preceding every mitzvah. Atah, the first is Baruch Atah, you. Who are you speaking to? You. Hainu muhusay v'atzmusay yisbarach. When you say you, it means two things. First of all, that you're right here. I can't say you if you're not here. If you're somewhere else, I could say who, not Atah or he. But when I say Atah or At in the Lashon Nekeva, it means you're right here. When you're speaking in third person about somebody who's not present, you don't say you. You speak about them, or you speak about he, or you speak about she. So that's the first thing that Ata represents. But Ata means also all of you. Which part of you? It's not your nose or your eyes or a certain personality. Ata means you. It's even deeper than your name. Your name was given to you at a bris, or given to you later, and sometimes people could change their names, etc. Ata means you, like Anoichi, I. Who's I? It's all of you. Ata. So Baruch Atah is Hainu Mahusiv Atzmusi is Baruch. Baruch v'nimshach. The word Baruch in Mishnayos is Hamavrich es Hagefen, which means when you graft a vine. There's an expression, Bricha Hamavrich, when you graft a tree. You take a branch and you put it in the earth and you want a new sapling to grow. That's called Bricha, which is Hamshacha. Basically, you're drawing it, you're accessing it further. Baruch Atah. It's not just you're blessed. Baruch Milashon Hamshacha. You're grafting Kavayachal Atzmos. You're accessing, you're being mamshech, you're grafting. It's like atzmos being accessed through. Why now? Because you're about to do a mitzvah. Baruch v'nimshach. It's accessed, and then you continue. Baruch atah, and now Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. So he says v'nimshach. It's accessed b'pchinas Shem Havaya. In the name of Yud Kei Vavke, which is the next word, which Yud Kei Vavke Amislabish B'Esesphiris. This is the way the divine is manifested in the 10 divine characteristics. Yud, B'Chachma, Chuli. He already assumes here knowledge, as he always assumes in all of these basic concepts. But generally speaking, we're not discussing right now the Esesphiris, but generally speaking, Yud Kei Vavke represents the flow of divine energy into the 10 basic building blocks of creation. Yud represents Chachma, and Hey represents Bina, and the Vav represents the 6 Midos, and the last Hey represents Malchus, and as a result of that, the Ata is now accessed within Yud Kei Vavke, Ad Shenimshach Liyas Melech HaOlam, until it comes to become, it's access to be the king of the world, meaning B'chinas Malchus, Makar de Biyah, in Malchus, which becomes the source of all of the world's Bria, Yitzira, Asiya, V'hu, and then we say Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvaysa. Asher is Lashon Oineg. Asher means that, but Asher comes from the word, you could have said Shekidishanu b'mitzvaysa. You don't need the word Asher. Asher comes from the word Ashrei. K'moi be'oshri ki ishruni bonos. In Parshas Vayetze, Asher is born, and Leah speaks about the fortune, the Osher, the Glicklichkeit. It's a person, you say, you bless a person with Osher, with an Aleph we're talking about, which is a form of tremendous tainug and pleasure. It's back to that laughter, to the pleasure, to the Osher, the Glicklichkeit, that will be revealed in the future. And actuality, when Hashem will give his entire Hain Beisai, but who this Osher nimshach achshav mamash. It's not created lost love. It's revealed in the future. When is it access? It's access now, as the Gemara says in Eruvin ki ayoyim la'asoisam u'lemachar lekabel schar. And the pasuk hayoyim la'asoisam v'eschar, and the Gemara says today is the time to do. Tomorrow you receive reward, which means nothing happens then that didn't happen today. The action happens today. Then you only see it. It's like the curtains are opened on the stage, and you see what you created on the stage. Somebody is observing a play, so they build the props. My father I remember once took me to a play, and they opened the curtains, and I see these amazing props. I was a little kid, and it was hard for me to understand how momentarily they built such a beautiful stage. Then I figured out that they probably did it for weeks, but the curtains were closed. So when the curtains open, it's not then that they set up the stage. The stage was set up perhaps days, weeks, months, I don't know, in advance. The curtains simply gave me access to be able to see what has been created. When we speak about the Geula, L'Asad Lavei, that's the opening of the curtains. It's the Gilui. But the creation of it happens now. There's nothing in the world of Mashiach that is not in today's world. It's just the eyes will see. The perception will be clear. A person will be able to see who they are, what they achieved, what they accomplished, what life is. But Hayoim is La'asais. So when we say Yitain Ishas Kol Hoin Beisa, that the Mayan will be Nizgala, the ultimate Schoik, the ultimate Tainug, the ultimate core, Asher, that happens today through Torah and Mitzvahs. The Inyan Pirush Bracha Zu. And this bracha that the Chazal instituted to say, who al derech mashal. Im roitza adam lahoyu l'meirachek, o b'makam choshech v'afela, tzarech lahadlik avuka g'doyla. U'lahoysef ala oir b'chdei sheyagia oire gam l'meirachek. When you want to light up a place that is very distant, or a very dark place, you need a larger torch and add, so that the light can expand further. And it in order to access the oir further down, even to the physical person, you have to add in the torch, which is a bracha v'lechei number razal chayev adam levarech meya brachas b'chol yoim, which each bracha is that precedes the mitzvah, or whatever type of bracha the person makes, puts a person in this mindset and this awareness of what they're about to do. And this is what the Chazal meant in Pirkei Avos. 1 hour. An hour doesn't necessarily mean 60 minutes. It means one while, ein vaila, a little short time. It could be a half an hour, it could be 20 minutes. In Olam Hazeh, in this world, is nicer, it's more beautiful than the entire life of Olam Haba. Which this Mishnah perturbed many of the commentators, because it seems to run contrary to conventional wisdom in Yahadus, in Yiddishkeit Hashkafa. Generally, generally our understanding is that this world is merely, as the Mishnah itself says in Pirkei Avos, it's a prust or Kadesha Takanas L'Traklim. This world is a corridor to go into the palace. So you don't take the corridor so seriously. It's like the lines on the airport to get through security, to be able to get on the plane, to get to your destination. Imagine somebody says, Yofer Shah Achas, waiting in the airport online, Mikol, from the whole destination where you want to be for the rest of your life. It's a ridiculous statement. What do you mean? You have to do it, okay. You do it, some people do it, they're grouchy, and some people do it with a sense of humor, with Habisal Tzchaik. They know how to use the time. The Jewish ways, you come with a lot of food, and then it's not an issue. You eat a couple of meals on the security line, and you finish your waters, and then you're good. You numb the frustration and the pain of being in these places. But who's going to say you're taking a road trip, you have to get somewhere, you're going to a chasana, you're going on a business trip, you're moving somewhere. Somebody's going to say being on the road is yafa from the whole stay there. You could say it's important, it's the only way to get there. I understand it's the only way to get there. The way to get to Olam Haba is through Olam Hazeh. In Olam Haba, you have to do what you have to do, and then you show your receipts. You show the receipts that you received in Olam Hazeh, all the receipts that you got from the people that came, and that's when mainly you can have your ticket to Olam Haba. So here's where you get the ticket. But somebody's going to say buying the lottery ticket is more significant than winning it and having it forever. Not only that, the same Mishnah in Pirkei Avos contradicts itself. It says, Yafer Shachas Shal Kairas Ruach B'Olam Haba Mikol Chai Olam Hazeh. 1 moment, 1 hour of pleasure, of Kairas Ruach, of Fargenigin, of delight, of Geschmack. And Olam Haba is better than the whole Chai Olam Hazeh. A person could live 120 years and enjoy themselves. But nonetheless, it doesn't come to the Tainug, to the Geschmack of Shah Achas B'Olam Haba Mikol Chai Olam Hazeh. But suddenly here the Mishnah says 1 hour of Tshuva Ma'asim Tovim. So I could understand that hour of Tshuva Ma'asim Tovim is extremely significant, because that's what gets you to Olam Haba. That's what many Mefarshim say. Since this is the ticket, so that's why it's so significant. But if the whole purpose of it is to get you there, it's not Yafa. By definition, the whole inyan of it, the whole mile is that it's going to get you there. So how can you say Yafa? The whole definition is it's a hachana. You could say it's important, don't underestimate it, don't forfeit it, because if you forfeit it, chas v'shalom, you lose the ticket, you don't have a ticket. But now, according to this Mayim, we can understand a whole deeper meaning in this Mishnah. And it doesn't contradict the fact that Olam Haba is Olam Haba, Kvoide b'B'Kayim Emunach, and the Tainug there is Gevaldik, and what you experience there you can't experience in Olam Hazah because there's no shells there, there's Gili Elakus, Nohar Yoitzim Eden Lashkas Sagan, and there's Nenem Miziv Ashchina, that's Emes. And therefore the Kairas Ruach, the pleasure in Olam Haba is superior to all of Olam Hazah. But there's something in Tshuva and Maisim Tov in Olam Hazah that is Yafa, that is greater and deeper Mikol Chaya Olam Haba. From the answer, from the whole Indian of Olam Haba. What is this? So this is what he says. Ki Gan Eden Urak Ziv Hashchina. He says this as a glatte hate. These are very heavy ideas. Gan Eden is rak ziv hashchina. Gan Eden is only ziv hashchina. Now we say only. It's not only ziv hashchina is pretty infinite. You have to say rak. You have to just clarify it. The rak is not a psarak. Only, like we say, you only giving me this. I want more. The rak itself you could live with for many millennia, or maybe infinite millennia. But the vart is it's ziv hashchina. So generally the hashkafa is, b'chlal, that the purpose of everything is Olam Haba. I spoke about the Shabbos also in the Shir. If you listen to Shiurim, you'll look in Svarim, it's not Chaz v'Shalom, not Emes, it's Emes. You'll see, for example, if you learn all the Svarim of the Ramchal, or other svarim of Musar, or other svarim of Hashkafa, of Machshava, of different branches, he right away starts off Mesilas Yesharim, or Derech Hashem, or his other svarim. The focus is, the tachlis of life is to get out of here, and to get out of here, to get into Olam Haba. To get into Olam Haba, God doesn't give free lunch. You have to work for it. And that's also part of the tainuk. Part of the pleasure is that you own it. It's not nama de chisuf, it's not bread of shame. When you get everything for free, it's shameful. But the ultimate purpose in life is lisaneg el Hashem, to experience pleasure, and to have pleasure, and the ultimate pleasure is not the pleasure of spare ribs, or the pleasure of anything else in physical life, even though that's pleasurable. It's the pleasure of lisaneg el Hashem. And that's what Olam Haba is, and the whole of life is a hachana for that, a preparation for that. The missing piece here, one missing piece here is that it's completely counterintuitive to what the person feels. When we live in this world, there's a very deep connection between us and this world. So some will say, yeah, because you're a grabbe behema. You're a grabbe behema. Real people, they're here, they're not here. But that basically means that very often, much of religion is about a person repressing their connection with this world, which very often means that there's something very deep in me, that either I have to deny or I have to repress if I'm to take it seriously. The Baal HaTanya here goes one step deeper. And what he's saying is, Avada Gan Eden is a place of Kairas Ruach, and Avada Gan Eden is a place of Schar. But when the Mishnah says, Yafa Shach B'Tshuva Ma'asim Tovim B'Olam Hazeh, there's something in Olam Hazeh that doesn't exist even in Gan Eden. It's not Gan Eden is everything in this world is a prusdur, and you have to wait online and make the best out of it and live and don't take it seriously at all and just get there. Which there's something that doesn't speak to the person in that. Even though there's a truth to it, there's an emes to it. There's an emes to it. But there's also an emes in Olam Hazeh. And the emes in Olam Hazeh is so powerful that in a way it has a depth and a truth that even Olam Haba doesn't have. This explains, I told the story, Shabbos, there's a Maisa that the Baal Shem Tov, a couple once came to the Baal Shem Tov, and they asked for a blessing for children. And he said he couldn't give them, and this happened for years and years. And once they begged and pleaded for a promise to have a child, and the Baal Shem Tov finally acquiesced, he gave them. They had a baby. But shortly after that, Rebbetzin Adel was the Baal Shem Tov's daughter. She saw that her father was dancing. So she asked him, what's the simcha? So he told her the story, and he said that after he did this, he got a communication from heaven that he lost his Olam Haba. This was direct betrayal of Ratzon Hashem, and he lost his Olam Haba. He was using his koiches to fight the system, so to speak, and he lost his Olam Haba. So Rabbi Salih says, so what's, you should cry. So he says like this, his whole life he wasn't sure he's ever serving God. Maybe he's serving Hashem to get Olam Haba. Now finally he doesn't have the distractions. Now he can start serving Hashem. He doesn't have to be busy. Why am I doing it? Am I doing it Lishma? Not Lishma for you, not for you. He says, now the headaches are gone. Now I could just serve God, I'm a chaya, without any distractions. That's it, I'm a chaya. That's what the Baal Shem Tov said. What's the Havana in this? Well, you're serving God. What's this? Olam Haba is the Iker. You'll hear people speak. The whole motivation of Torah and Mitzvah is Olam Haba. One Olam Haba, was willst du? But that's missing the Nekuda. That's missing the Nekuda. That's the Ziv. What I'm looking is for the relationship. And that's also the Havana and the story about Reb Nachum Chernobyl, the Mayim. He once came to a city, there was no mikveh. And he asked, why there's no mikveh for women? He said, why is there no mikveh? They said, we can't afford it. It was a poor city. He said, nobody has money. It has to be, it ain't gvir. Somebody made it. He said, there's one person, but he's very stingy. He will not give. So Reb Nachum Chernobyl got up in Shul on Shabbos, and he said as follows, whoever sponsors the building of the mikveh, I'm giving him my part in Olam Haba. The Jew was stingy, but he wasn't stupid. So he said he came forward and he said he will contribute the entire money for the mikveh, which he did. And Reb Nachum Chernobyl gave him over his Olam Haba for the mikveh. So I told once the story in Borough Park. I was giving a share tiny that I told the story. So somebody said, Rabbi Jacobson, I don't understand the story. I mean, it's a very nice story and a great man and everything. The Mayim, the Hilakir of the Mayim, it doesn't make sense. The whole reason we use a mikveh, the whole reason we build mikvehs, the whole reason we want a mikveh is to get into Olam Haba. If for a mikveh you're getting rid of the Olam Haba, you don't need a mikveh, sure. You could do that without a mikveh, not get your Olam Haba. So somebody sitting in the Shia said, you missed the point. By doing that, he knew he's going to get a bigger Olam Haba. By doing that, he was giving up Olam Haba to get a bigger Olam Haba. It's like you give up the little, your mother asks to give up your piece of cake, but she gives a wink to you. You're going to get the bigger piece of cake. This is just for your baby brother. He should think that he's getting the piece of cake. But you and I know I'm going to take you to 7-Eleven or to the bakery, and we're going to get you a bigger piece of cake. But the emes is, he also missed the point. He also missed the point. Because it's not, his paradigm of Yiddishkeit was, everything is rewards. Which is nice, and it's true. It's not false, it's true. But it's just one limited aspect of it. I'm doing it because I want reward. Now listen, when a person has motivations to do good things and something is stopping you from doing bad things, whatever is good. Especially keeping you away from trouble. But what we're discovering here is that all of this is emes. But there's one deeper dimension. Deeper dimension is the nekuda. Let's see, so what does he say? Gan Eden is ziv hashchina. V'lachein lo yuchal lechabes es ha'ava. But there's an ava that Gan Eden cannot satisfy. Aval hamshach zu tshuva and ma'asim tovim is b'bchinas muhusay v'atzmusay. That's you, ata. V'loy ziv levad, not only a ray. V'lachein nikra hoin beisay. That's what's called hoin beisay, as he explains. Im yitei nishes kol hoin beisay ba'ava. For this ava, you have to get the entire hoin beisay from the ish, which he will give in the future, but he gives us access now. And you see it also in relationships. Everything is a mashal for a nimshal. The Rambam says in Hilchas Tshuva Perek Yud that the whole concept of marriage is a mashal for the relationship of Hashem and the Jew. The whole Shir Hashirim is a mashal for the relationship. You see, you have two types of relationships. One type of relationship, which is a fine relationship, it's not bad, is I want to be with you for one reason. I'm going to get schar. It's rewarding to be with you. It's rewarding. Why are you laughing?
It's rewarding in the next world.
Huh? Okay, sometimes it's in the next world, yeah. Pretty lousy marriage probably, but I'm sure some people do it. I get emails all the time of people who are struggling, and they write naturally, I'm afraid to reach out to try to get help for the struggle because I understand that the more I struggle and suffer, the more the reward will be in the future world. Why should I give that up by trying to get rid of the suffering?
What do you answer that?
But what is it based? What's the concept based on? The concept based on is it's all about reward and punishment. You'll suffer more here, you'll get more reward there. So sometimes you have a whole relationship that's based on this. If I'm close to you, I'm going to get reward. If I'm distant from you, I'm going to get a punishment. That's what's motivating the relationship. Now we all understand, although that can produce fine results and a person could behave and a woman could behave and a man could behave and they could be civil to each other and so forth, there's a fire missing. There's an inspiration missing. There's an enthusiasm missing. There's something off. Imagine you go home and you tell your wife, this relationship, I'm not sure how much it means to me, but somebody's doing the laundry and somebody's making supper and Olam Haba is going to be gewaldig. But a real relationship means I want you. I want you. I want to be connected to you. And if I don't have you for Ibn Nachum Chernobyl, you'll give me Olam Haba her, Olam Haba in. If there's no mikveh, what's that for Olam Haba? In the mikveh he has atzmus. Olam Haba he has ziv. If without mikveh, what do I need Olam Haba? The Baal Shem Tov was happy because the Baal Shem Tov says, now I can be in a relationship without distractions. Now, of course, the emes is, when we speak about this, we speak in very polarized terms, because the real, in other words, ultimately it's about the synthesis and the integration between the two worlds. But the nekuda is that this is the yitin ishas kol hoim beisay ba'ava. This type of ava of the neshama will not be silenced through the Mayim Rabim because it doesn't want only the ziv. The ziv means I have a ray, a glimmer. I want the entire core. I want you. I said there was a chassid. It was a chassid of the fourth Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe Maharash, and the Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe. His name was Rabbi Yaakov Mordechai Bespilov. Rabbi Yaakov Mordechai Bespilov. And he was the Rav of a city called Poltava in the Ukraine. It's not far from Hadich. Poltava, it's a city in the Ukraine. It was a prominent city, it was a prominent community, and he was the Rav there, Rabbi Yaakov Mordechai Bespilov. They called him the Poltava Rav. I sing his niggin very often, the Poltava Rav's niggin. He used to daven with a beautiful niggin he used to daven with. Oh, that's the Poltava Rav's niggin. He was a Dahoy ben Yid. And they say a mice about him, that he slept on a bench. He slept on to refine himself. He didn't want to be addicted to materialism, so he slept on a bench for like 30 years. I don't know if every night to this, but very often he slept on a bench. And as a result of that, as he got older, he fell ill. And before his death, he said that he regrets it. Why? He feels that as a result of that, his health deteriorated, and he became sick faster. He wasn't a young man, but he said, as I in Yiddish, he says, "Ein mal tefillin is besser wie 30 Jahre schlafen auf a bank." One time putting on tefillin is greater than sleeping on a bench for 30 years. Even though sleeping on a bench for 30 years, it's sigufim and tiniest, and it's refining, but his ein mal tefillin is größer wie 30 Jahre auf a bank. That's what he said. So Chassidim repeated the story and they used to say, the Baltaver Rav was right. He was right. Aber kedei das zu der Herren auf mit Schlafen auf der Bank 30 Jahre. To be able to say this, you have to sleep on a bench for 30 years. Which is the concept of Olam Haba. That's what Ziv HaShchina means. That's where these two things are not contradictory. It's not Olam Haba and then there's God, Chas v'Shalom. The pnimius of Olam Haba is the Choich Atzmos. Olam Haba is also a reflection. Olam Haba is how the Ziv comes out. Like everything in life, truth is everywhere. The question is how much of it you accessed in that experience. Olam Haba on its own is the Ziv.
Is an oversimplification to say that, for example, that we say we're longing for Yom Shetzadikim Yoshim. We're saying v'nana b'ziv Ashkina. So we're asking Taka b'ziv, but we're asking for the ziv that we get after the avodah here, not to go straight because that's self-defeating.
Yeah. So when a person says in this world, I want to be in Gan Eden. What's that Gan Eden? I just want to sit back and I want to be in a paradise world. What do I have to deal with this and deal with that? But the truth is that sometimes in Gan Eden, all you'll have is Ziv. And in the Avodah, in Torah and Mitzvahs, you have the Atzmos Mahus, the essence. So it may not be as dazzling and glorifying and gratifying in the sense that I feel enthralled and uplifted and inspired. We all know that this world has a lot of nitty and gritty days. Did I say that right? Okay. You could check after the shiur, check the text and you'll see what I'm talking about. You can't even get away for an hour. Hayoim la'asoisa. And there's always something to deal with, and there's always something to confront. And Baruch Hashem, se felt nishtois. I mean, everybody should only have paradise and comfort and tranquility. But even the greatest paradise and comfort and tranquility in this world comes with a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. B'zeyas apecha toicha. So the person says, when can I just sit back and sit in Gan Eden? But the truth is that a person should never ever despair or underestimate the gewaldige value of the avodah every moment of the day within the world, within the physical world, which is encompassed by Torah and mitzvahs, whatever that moment demands. Because there one has a noichi mitzav chaya, the entire core, the atzmos. Maybe you don't have the pras, maybe you don't have the ziv. That's why you don't feel it. If you would have only the ziv, you can't be immune to it. If you have the ziv, you feel it immediately. When you don't have the ziv, when you don't have a glimmer, you have the essence. I may not feel, and the reason I may not feel is because it's bigger than my feeling. It's much more powerful than my feeling, but it's truth. I'm touching truth. You have to look at the value of what you're doing, the value of what you're involved in, that it's the embodiment of ultimate truth.
Sprinkle a little bit of salt, not a lot of salt.
Amen. Amen. Please remember, tomorrow morning there's no shiur.
Davening and the Gemara class is upstairs.
It summons you.
So maybe one day a week.
It's hot, as you said.
I love sitting, with my chevron,
Also Shem.
It's also hard to put it
My fault.
a while she wrote a few. She watched it.
Tuesdays, I learned till 7.
It's so overtaken. It's only half an hour.
Okay, good.
Vada, allemaal.
Just doing the game of time. I'd have him better next to me.
Verstanden? Ist verstanden? Good. Ruchim abayim. אתה תפסת? אם לא, תשאל רב מוישה יסביר. הוא תופס בתת הכרה, הוא לא צריך לתפוס בהכרה. הוא תופס בתת הכרה. אתה מבין?
Geweldig. De massa van de eerste moet je de massa.
Welke massa? De Baltaveru. Hort, ha? Geht das zu sagen?
משקף למסיר נפש. שכבות, משקף
It's still in the grass. Aber es geht zu sagen.
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.